I'd like to introduce you, my very amazing panelists. First and foremost, can I have JL? Can we give a round of applause to JL? Is a co-founder of this beautiful space, the Great Room. Mother of four. Beautiful mother of four. In love bonito, no less. Yes, so thank you, JL. Next, we have Daniel Ong. Amazing father. One, beautiful kid, Renee. Serial entrepreneur, CEO, many different businesses. Next, we have Michelle Choi, mother of six, guys. Mother of 6 years old to 20 years old. Superwoman. Co-founder of the Little Executive. So the Little Executive came about because I think Michelle spotted a gap in the education system in Singapore, where she found that hey, the education system in Singapore is nurturing kids to have more of a fixed mindset rather than a growth mindset. So I think later we can get more information from Michelle as well. So next we have Declan. Declan, co-founder of Pasori. Father of two who has chosen to homeschool his kids. Yeah, so you can share a little bit more about that later as well. And last but not least, we have Shirley Torrey, my good friend, founder of Moms at Work. So she works and deals a lot with women who have just become mom and who are going through that transition of whether I should be focusing on my work or at home, family, and things like that. So all of them are great, amazing parents in their own right, and very different kinds of parenting philosophies as well, which I'll get them to share later. So if you have any questions, by the way, we have a live Q&A session happening later. We have also created a site for you to key in any questions that you have. It's pigeonhole.at. pigeonhole.at. And the password is LB2U, LBTOYOU. So key in your questions. I think later I'll repeat again. Key in your questions if you have any at all. I think this is the best chance, right, to ask from these amazing panelists as well. And I was very stressed before the panel because I was like, oh my god, I really hope that because you guys spend so much of your time here, and I make the best out of it for you guys and extract the most out of these amazing panelists. So here we go. So while I was preparing for the panel, I read an amazing quote which says, "You don't stop being a woman when you start being a mother. Motherhood doesn't define you. It is one of the many roles you assume. You have to bring your own unique gifts, traits, and characteristics to the role. Your actions must be consistent with what you think, hope, believe, and value as a person. You cannot have peace in your mind and heart unless you are being authentic." And I think especially today, right, I think it's increasingly sort of getting harder to raise a child because of social media, and we tend to compare as well. So I think today we want to share, and we want to start by hearing from each panelist, just maybe in 1 or 2 sentences, succinctly and very broadly, what does parenting mean to you? Maybe let's start with Shirley for this.
Hi, morning. I thought this was an interesting question when I first heard about it. I've been asked before, what is parenting to you? And I see it as something almost like you have the chance to kind of have a little, almost like you create your own little legacy. I hope at least my kids will be my legacy. And the idea behind it is really how you influence them to a certain extent, but also not take control of their lives. And I think parenting has been something of a pretty interesting journey. There's a lot of happiness, but there's also a lot of crying and things where you're not sure, which I'm very sure all of them here will agree. And for me, parenting has been actually a pretty good self-reflection journey as well.
So I have two boys, they're 2 and 1. So at this point, I think parenthood's pure exhaustion. But I think looking back, it's definitely the most rewarding, and it's true because you relive almost the wonderment of everything through them. Although when you are going through it at that point, you don't feel it. You'll be like, oh my god, I can't. It's the days are really long, but it's
But the years are short.
Absolutely, and you get to kind of redo so many things, and look at it from a completely different perspective. And to me, that's amazing. so far.
I totally agree with both of them in everything they said. Having said that, my eldest is 20, coming to 20 this year.
And the youngest is 6,
The
right?
youngest is 6.
6 to 20, guys.
So I can tell you that parenting is a never-ending journey and a never-ending job. Honestly, I was just saying when my eldest turned 18, if I had known that, I think I really wouldn't have experienced. But parenting is as much as you are teaching your children, you are learning and growing, learning from your children. When they're very little, you learn a lot about, like Declan said, you see the world through their eyes. There are a lot of things that you take for granted. You don't learn to, smell the roses anymore. The little kids bring you back down there. And the teenagers, they are so in your face. They tell you the most honestest things. And you learn a lot from them as well. And it was funny. My my kids just gave me Mother's Day cards, Mother's Day cards, and my eldest put there, "Mom, despite your flaws, you are one cool mom." And that's from her heart. And they can see, and as parents, we cannot have this mindset that we know everything and we are superior. We do have our flaws, and we should learn to admit that we have our flaws. There are times when we don't know things, and to admit it. Yeah.
Okay, my answer would be parenthood is fun. It's a great learning journey, but I am enjoying every single moment of parenthood. I am present at every single moment of the experience, and through the good and the bad, I just love the whole experience. It's just been a fun journey, and if you can find fun in it, then parenthood becomes a breeze. If you can find fun in it, even when they're crying, when they're making a mess, when they're doing anything, you're finding joy in that. You laugh at them, with them, at moments, but you find joy in it, and then all of a sudden it becomes fun. So I find parenthood fun.
For me, I think parenthood inspires me to be a bit more ambitious. I kind of want to be the best version of myself. It inspires me to be a better role model. So I think there's a certain ambitiousness about it, but at the same time it's very humbling. So I always remind myself to have the humility to know that it's going to be always about learning and growing with them, because you're learning about yourself, you're learning about them, you're learning to be better, cope with changes all the time. So it is both, I guess, ambition and humility.
Wow, that's nice. So maybe I'd like to ask the next question to Shirley and Dan. How has motherhood and fatherhood changed you as people?
You want to do it the second you think.
How's it changed us as a
yeah.
person?
Yeah.
It has taught me about unconditional love. You will do anything for your child. You will be anything, sacrifice anything. You don't need to sleep. All of a sudden, how's it changed you? You become superhuman. All moms, all dads, you're all superhuman, because I think when you have your kid, they really bring out something in you that you never thought that you had. It changes you entirely. Renee growing up, she's now 8 years old, but age 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, every year is different. So it has evolved. And as the relationship has evolved, you will evolve as a person as well. So because of their influence on you, it's just not just one way, it's the other way as well. Because of that, you will grow as a person as well. And I think unconditional love, that's how it's changed me. It's taught me how to love more, love better, and to be selfless. Yeah.
For me, I think motherhood gave me a bigger purpose in life. Not that I didn't have one before, it sounds really pathetic, but but I think really, there was a day where I've shared this before with Rachel. In the past, whenever I took a plane, if I went on a work trip, and if there was a turbulence, there would be that slight fear of thinking, I'm going down, right? And there were times in my life when I thought, if it happens, it happens, it's fine. But once the kids came along, there was always this idea that there's someone waiting for me. The two people, 110 and 15, who really, to them, I'm their world, right? And it really gave me a lot of purpose. I think children do that amazing thing. They make you realize that there's a lot to life. There's a lot more to life than work and even the spouse. Oops. But the kids really do that. It's amazing. I don't think I can ever find that kind of a purpose in anything else I do. And sometimes I feel that I can do these amazing things at work, run a huge event, put women and get them jobs and all that. And I come home and I look at my kids and I think, they're still the best thing that I've ever produced and created. They could be screaming and fighting and punching each other, but to me, they're still the best things. I can never be more proud of this. And that gives me purpose in life, and it really keeps me going. And I know that for a lot of mothers and fathers, when the kids are babies, you don't see this purpose, obviously, because you just breastfeed and feed and feed and feed. But at some point it comes, and I think that magical age where they start to respond, then you say, life really has meaning, at least for me.
I'd like to ask GL, how was it like for you in the initial stages of motherhood? Because I also understood from you that when you became a mom, you were juggling and traveling most of the week, closing deals and also working for someone else. So how is it like for you? And I think a lot of us here, how many of us were working moms or working moms to be? Yeah, then, so I think it's a constant, I hear this all the time about mom guilt and yeah, how was it like for you, Jill?
I think I was a very reluctant mom, and I'm not maternal. I know nobody believes it anymore because I have 4 children, but I'm really not maternal, and I can't say that anymore. So when it happened, which is about 1.5 years after I got married, I was actually based in Bangkok. So I was in hotel development. I was developing the Four Seasons and Capella Hotel there. It was a big job, and at the time I was shuttling to and fro Singapore. So basically, I fly there every week and I come back every weekend. And I did that for a couple of years. During pregnancy and even when I had my first 2 girls, I kind of went through all the patterns of then traveling every other week. It was very, very difficult. And even when my firstborn arrived, she's now 5.5 years old, when she just arrived, I didn't know what to do. I mean, I kind of said this to Rachel, thank goodness for Google, because these days you can Google everything, anything. You can say, my body made this funny sound. What does it mean? Okay, but at the time I was Googling, there was a stranger in my house. I don't know if I love my child. Is it normal? I Googled these things because I just didn't know what to do. I honestly felt like, what am I going to do with baby? I still go through all the normal motions, breastfeeding, but I think the emotional connection didn't happen for me until a little bit later. And it's kind of quite difficult to say to someone else that I'm not sure if I've developed that love yet, but I cannot say it in a very honest way now. And I think as time went by, obviously we're really close, and I love having children, and now I'm able to kind of juggle both. And I do believe that we can have it all, we just can't have it all at all times. So I kind of think of it as seasons of life. At a certain time in your life, you make certain choices. So for me, when I was traveling to Bangkok, I was still finishing up a big job. It was a crucial time. I had very supportive mom-in-law and my mom who told me, you know what, children don't remember anything when they're small. Do your traveling, do your thing, we'll help you. And it kind of helped me with the early years. And now I'm back. I moved back to Singapore when my second child was about 3. Yeah, but I think the 0 to 3 was very difficult for me. It wasn't easy. So never look at mine or people's highlights reel and then compare it to your real life reel, because you're only seeing the highlights. It was tough. It's just not easy.
Instagram is not real.
Real, but it's highlights.
Yeah. So Jill, what are some of the biggest adaptations and changes that you have had to make in your life when you enter into this new season of motherhood?
I think the biggest one is time. Time becomes really important because you're so short of time constantly. There's a lot of tugging priorities. So I get very disciplined and very protective of my time. I make sure the time I spend is very impactful. And I want to make sure that I'm the one making the choices how to spend my time. I want to make sure that I don't drop a ball that I cannot afford to drop. So instead of trying to juggle all the balls, you choose like, you know what? I cannot drop this ball. I'm the only person that can be the mother to my child. It doesn't mean they're always priority, because they're micro decisions that you make in a day, that today maybe this part of work is more important. But if you don't choose which ball you can afford to drop, you never want to be in a point where you drop something you cannot afford. So that also means that you are consciously making a choice, and hopefully that relieves some guilt, because we all have that guilt. When we're at work, we're worrying about the kids. When we're kids, we're worrying about not being at your best at work. But I become a little bit more at peace with the choice. So I choose that today I'm going to give 80% to this, and I'm going to drop this one. And you know what? Fine, I'm at peace with it. I'm not going to make. This week I missed the parents-teacher conference, the year-end parents-teacher conference before the school holidays of both my kids, because I did a day trip to Bangkok for work. But I chose it, so I'm at peace with it. I sent my mother. It was amazing. I did a little video of the teacher talking and all that stuff, and I no longer feel guilty about it.
That's so important. I think the other topic which I'd like to touch on is, the importance of taking care and refueling. Like always when we're on a plane, then they make the announcement, right? Always put on your oxygen mask for yourself before you put on for your kid or someone else. So nurturing our spirit and body, especially emotionally, mentally, is really important. And with 6 kids, Michelle, raising them sounds to me suffocating. And I'm like, how do you remain sane through it all? What's the secret? 6 to 20 years old, literally. Yeah, how do you do it?
And she looks so good.
I know, in love with it.
I think 3 things, like Jarrell mentioned. The first thing is, for me, is to prioritize. So of course, over the 20 years, like you said, there's always things demanding your attention. So the first thing you have to do is really take time. Now that you guys, your kids are young, the first thing is to really sit down, think about your own life, think about what do you want for your children in the long run. Because as you go along this journey, you'll be pulled in all directions. Friends telling you, hey, this enrichment very good, then you just go. Hey, that's that, and then you get pulled right, you get pulled left, in every way. Or the parties, the huge, humongous parties these days. I've been there, done that. At one point we were having like 3 parties every weekend, like 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. It was just crazy. But now looking back, all that is so unnecessary. The extravagance of it. What do you really want your children to remember? So firstly is to really prioritize. And what is important to even your best friend may not be important to you. And you don't want to reach 5 years, 10 years down the road and look back and think, oh gosh, that isn't what I would have really wanted to raise, the way I wanted to raise my kids. So sit down, really spend time and think about what do you want long term. At the end of the day, what do you want for yourself, what do you want for your family, what do you want for your children? And then prioritize it. Like Jarrell mentioned, everything else, you put them on a scale. Yeah. So if you have no time left to do the other things, it doesn't matter. Second thing, which was very key to my sanity, was to raise them independent. So my children are very, very independent. Before they go to P1, I would tell my kids, this is your school bag, these are your books, don't come to me for anything. spelling, ticks, they're all on your own. Revision for exams, everything all on your own. You just come, bring the paper, need me to sign anything, you bring it to me. I'm not going to ask you anything about school or work. And your duties are to listen in class, finish your homework, that's it, right? And so they are all on autopilot from the day they enter P1. Even at home, I would not do things for them, and they all just survive. Yeah, they would rise up to whatever you expect of them. That's two. And the third thing is really me time. When I was little and there were 5 kids growing up, they're all 2 years apart, but the first 5. Me time was I lived in
It makes it sound so like it's every day.
It wasn't. It was crazy. I mean, life was crazy. But I survived. It was funny for the first. For the first 10 years of my life, every time it was my birthday, and everybody said, "Hey, what do you want for your birthday?" I had one answer: sleep. I wish I could just book into a hotel by myself, nobody come, and I just wanted to sleep. But I know that if that happened, I would be worrying about them at home. Oh, what's going to happen to them, that kind of thing. And I was so used to sleeping about 4 hours per night for 10 years that I just couldn't sleep properly. It took me a long time to have a proper 6-7 hours sleep, like in a stretch. Like Daniel said, you become superhuman just because you had to. I had babies every 2 years. You were pregnant or breastfeeding or kids having fever, and there were days when I never slept. And you just had to do it. You just had to do what you had to do. But that was my crazy life. But the good thing was I was living in a condo, and we made it a point to bring the kids to the playground every evening. Outdoor time and fresh air and physical activity was important to me. So that was my me time, where the kids would be playing. I would have 3 or 4 very close stay-home neighbors, and that was my circle of and we would share and vent and support is very, very important. Because then you realize, hey, it's not just my kid, and when you feel that your other friends in the same situation, you can laugh about it. Initially, the first time when I think my daughter was 8 and she said something to me, "Mom, I hate you." When I gave her some rules or something, and I was devastated, right? And I said, "I've done so much for you for the past 8 years, and now you tell me you hate me." And when I shared with my neighbor, she said, the same thing happened to her, and then, 2 years later when they become 10, 11, you realize, "Oh, Mom, everything you did for me was for love." They go through these phases. So I felt so, alone when she said that to me. I was devastated, and I told my husband, and my daughter said, "I love Daddy so much." He lets us eat the pizza, he lets us play, we can play the iPad, you make us sleep on time, you make us do this and that, I hate you, that kind of thing. So it was really helpful when you have people who are friends along. But now that they're older, I really make time to reflect and look inward. Like I just came back from a pilgrimage. I took 11 days off all by myself. I went to Italy, to Assisi, for peace and quiet in nature. I spent a lot of time in nature, in prayer, in reflection. And I came back a much better person. Before I left, I was so burdened. Imagine 4 teenage girls at home, right? And I have this year itself, I have 1 PSLE, 1 O-level, 1 A-level, 1 streaming, 1 kids who were about to go to T1, all the transitions, they were going crazy. I mean, I'm very hands-on academically, but seeing the stress, we can't run away from the stress. The school gives them the stress, they give themselves the stress. When they reach JC level, they give themselves the stress. So there was a lot of stress going on, a lot of conflict in the house, everybody was unhappy, and I was frowning all the time, and I was fighting fires at work. And now I run my own enrichment center, so I work full-time at work with managing staff, managing parents, managing complaints, managing kids, and I go home to a whole house full of hormonal teenage girls. It was just, too much to bear. So I decided, no, I really have to take time off, and it's amazing. I came back and I've changed, and even my staff say, "Oh my gosh, you are in this bubble of peace," And one staff was quipping, "Hey, ladies, let's see, who can make her, who can make her stressed." And they all try, but I'm just like, "Please, guys, please." And so it has to come from within. you need to find your own sanctuary.
Actually, just
Yeah.
to be scaring everybody. Parenthood is not so bad. Most days is okay lah. You know, I think they're great.
Except if you're sick, lah.
Yeah,
Especially when they're asleep, everything's really good.
I feel like I don't deserve to use the word stress anymore. I don't deserve it.
I think I should sit there. Not up here.
I really do this to people. I have friends coming to me, they are so desperate, they say, you know, I have to tell you my problems. They go on, and I say, you know what, sit down. And then after I tell them the story, they're like, okay. I can deal with any troubles now.
Yeah, Michelle, I think it's interesting, especially when I was catching up with you. You were telling me that to you, the role of a parent is to really inculcate values and character rather than academic results, right? And I think especially in Singapore, that's tough. How do you do it? Because I think Michelle also shared with me that for herself, right? 1 week before PSLE, 3 weeks before O levels, she brought her family on a trip to Melbourne for a family's wedding. And that is not something that I think a lot of us are able to perhaps do as well. So could you share with us, that focus on values and character versus just results?
Yeah. I mean, the sad thing and the very apparent thing, especially I can see it running an enrichment center, right? In Singapore, all parents feel that I have no choice. I have to be in this rat race. I have to send them for endless tuition. This PSLE thing is just, oh my gosh, it's very scary. The thing is, a few reasons. One, if you think long term, and I'm seeing a lot of teenagers today because my kids are teenagers and they all come to my house, One thing you don't want your child reaching teenage years, and they all look at me and they say, Auntie, I don't know what my life is for. I'm like a machine for my parents, and they only seem happy when I do well. We all want our best for our kids, but if we only push them in one aspect academically and forget about everything else, and I'm seeing this in my enrichment center with parents who want the best, they love their kids, but the kids look at us and they feel this, that I'm not good enough for my mom. I can never, do well enough to please them. And it's very sad. And at the end of the day, these are the kids who end up, suicidal. If the stress becomes too much academically, and they don't have this sense that my mom loves me or my dad loves me unconditionally for myself, not for what I can produce, then that's where they fall apart. So before my daughter's O levels, we had a big family wedding, and the entire extended family was going, 30 of us. And I was in a dilemma. It was 3 weeks before one child's PSLE and before another child's O levels, and I had to make a decision: do I bring the two of them or not? So my husband always, you decide lah. Up to you lah. So I sat and I really thought about it. At first I said, okay lah guys, you guys stay back and you guys do the revision. But later, when I really, really reflected, I said, what was the message I wanted them to take home? So firstly, I decided that, hey, learning should be for life. You don't mark just before it. Because you know that we're going away for the trip, you plan beforehand and you study what you have to study before that. And the more important thing is that family is the most important thing. And when they look back now on the memories that they had with their cousins, their extended family, that cannot replace anything. And they know in their hearts that, hey, those are the values that, the family holds compared to just academic, I'm just a machine to do my PSLE. I've missed out on this whole family bonding trip because of the exams.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all the better for it. And in fact, they all didn't do, worse off than if they hadn't gone.
Yeah. So this question, I think, is for the fathers. And yesterday I was just texting my elder brother. He's a father of 4 girls. And I was asking him, if there's one question that you can ask the dads on the panel, what would it be? And he sent me this. He said, in your opinion, Dan and Declan, what can fathers offer to their children that is distinct and different from mothers?
Declan, to answer.
I think my kids are still very young. Be careful with my answer. I think it will evolve over time, but also most importantly, it really depends on the dynamics between the husband and wife. So every couple is different. So I wouldn't want to say my answer is the correct one, but so I would say for the father, typically the guy is out there working and all that, you know. So like for me, growing up, I think one of the biggest things that my dad did for me and I want to do for my children is to really involve him or her, if I have a daughter, in my work. And I think my dad did that for me. Even when I was 7 or 8, he never treated me like a kid. And I think that did a lot for me. And I would want to do that for my son when they are of the right age. Not make them work, but kind of expose them in the right way. Let them see the values that you bring to your work, the passion, the dedication, and what you want to leave, like your legacy. And I think they don't learn from you by you telling them. They learn from you by watching and what you do.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, for me, as a father. I think, again, it's back to the role that you play, and you really need to kind of balance off with the mother so that it works well, and then there's a good understanding between both.
I actually never had a dad, so came from a single parent family. I never knew what it was like to have a father figure. So when Renee came along, Jamie as well never had a father figure as well. So we just wanted to be the best parents we could be. Full stop. Period. I guess what I do differently is I enjoy my time with Renee so much. Like we do a lot of things that normal little girls wouldn't. We play with worms, bugs. We go jump in the reservoir. I get her feet all slimy. We go and do rough and tumble things. We're catching spiders and ants. We go to the parks. We go for walks. I show her different lizards. I try to catch a snake or catch a lizard just to let her touch it. She keeps beetles now as pets. For mealworms, you watch their life cycle evolve, and then after that she can hold the beetle and talk to it like that. When other girls will be like, ah! They'd be screaming. So I think the unique thing that I gave to Renee was her ability, actually not ability, her love for nature. She loves all animals. She wants to care for all animals. She's become such a kind person because of her caring for animals and just having fun with nature. Also, because we actually have a very funny situation in the sense that I have certain days with Renee and her mom has certain days with Renee. So basically, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and some Sundays, it's with Daddy. So I always plan an activity a day with her. So I'm busy at work. I'm running a ton of things. I'm super busy, but I will always schedule time for Renee. So Renee becomes the focus for me because I have days where I don't get her at all, where I don't get to see her at all. And those are the days where I chong at work, right? And the days where I do have her, she becomes the focus and we will do something in the day. We'll go rollerblading, cycling, go scooting, go to the park. Okay, today we have to catch 25 ants. Must, okay? And then must we go, okay. We go and then we finally catch 25 ants. How many? I'm counting, they keep moving. And we just do something fun like that. It can be mundane, But fathers, you can go back and tell your husbands or boyfriends, ask ask the fathers to come up with a list of fun things to do and execute with your child, girl or boy. And I guarantee you these experiences and these things will be etched in their brains forever. I never had it, and I want Renee to have what I never had.
I'm just smiling because you see the father's always the fun one.
And someone has to discipline, right?
That's not true. I do my fair share of disciplining, but for me, I think life is a schedule, Like if you have a fixed amount of time, okay, Renee, we have to accomplish these things today. And then there are items number 1 to 4. Number 1, homework. Number 2, you have to bathe. Number 3, I'll give you 30 minutes of iPad time. Okay, and number 4, outdoor activity. So we have to finish these 4 things. We only have 5 hours. Okay, let's figure it out. Now what do I want to do? I'll bathe first. And then I'll do. She'll knock it off. List. To-do list lah. So she does her to-do list. And then we accomplish everything. At the end of the day, once we've accomplished it all, we figured it out. And things will go a long way. Yeah.
Actually, this is a very interesting point, and I shared this with Rachel before. When I started parenting, and I don't know if you felt the same, because you don't really have a role model. The funny role model I turned to was my own mom, or your own dad. So I literally became my mom. Even things I didn't like about her. Sometimes I'm nagging and I'm like, oh, it's coming out. But I'll still say it. And then after that I'll say, your grandma used to say this to me, so I'm saying it to you. But it got me thinking, because my husband literally became his dad. I could see, they were saying these things. And I realized what's happening also is, as I'm parenting my child, even at a very young age, they are learning how to be a mother and father through me. So they will become exactly whatever I say to them now, like certain things I tell them, I know somewhere, even when I'm not around anymore, the same thing will be said to the kids. And when that happened, I got more scared actually, because I realized, oh my goodness, I have to say the right thing, responsible for what he says, right?
Yeah.
And then I kept thinking, okay, so what do? I go back to, again, my mom, what she would say. She's not around anymore. And I find that very interesting, because really I told my husband that one day, and I said, you are teaching your son how to be a husband and how to be a father. And whether you like it or not, you better be the best that you can be, right?
But there's also an anti-role model.
Yes,
right?
so we talked about this. I said, for us, because we loved our own parents, I love my mom, and to me she was good. Most things she did was correct. But there were also many things that I realized I didn't like, and I thought maybe I have a chance again to do, some of the things I don't like that I felt as a parent I could have a chance to redo. And there are also cases where I have friends when they say everything about my mom I didn't agree with, so I'm going to do the total opposite. So I have a lot of friends, for example, their moms are type A moms. They are like Lisa Fair, like anything they can do. You can have pizza every single day you want, right? So it's very interesting, because I think their first impression of what parenting is like is actually what they experience from you. And I think that to me is even more stressful than the academic results. Because the academic results at the end of the day, like what Michelle said, there are certain things and society will have the consequences if they don't study hard, for example. The parenting and their relationships with their other half, oh my gosh, that scares me, I'm like, wow. And that's where the dad, in a way, that's important.
Can I just add one quick thing for all dads? Think of fun ways to do mundane things. Like, for example, homework, okay? Your kid doesn't want to do homework. They'll keep getting off the chair. The Hokkien phrase is 微雕. You keep wanting to get off the chair, meal times or whatever, they just keep wanting to walk around and all that. So here's a really fun game that you can think about. It's called The Floor is Lava. Yeah. So she's doing homework, 30 minutes, we have to finish all the assignments. She will want to get down, and the moment I can be like in the garden area, and I just shout, I see her off her chair, the floor is lava! And she's back on and she's doing homework. And then after that, meal times, the floor is lava, it works. It's the best game ever.
I laugh because my husband did this. He's like on the floor, the volcanic eruption. And then my son took a glass of water and he splashed it. There's no more lava, Daddy.
We play statue as well. When the 4 kids go crazy, we play statue.
Freeze it.
So you gotta think of things, to get them.
Can I just sneak in one thing, just to share one thing, which my father-in-law shared with my husband, and he told me, the best thing that a father can do for his children is to love and cherish their mother.
Yes.
Amen.
So this is for fathers out there. I think you have to take care of their mother, so that she have all that extra for the children, and that's the best thing that you can do for your kids.
Which leads me to my next question, and especially for Declan and Shirley. How can husbands support their wives in raising kids? And this is from my elder brother as well. How can husbands support their wives
This is like
in
my
raising
wish
kids?
list. He's not here for a reason. I'll just go first, yeah. So I can't speak for all mothers, but I have to be very frank. I chose my husband, okay, this sounds very bad, but I knew I wanted to marry him when I saw how his dad was. And I realized that, it was something that we feel very strongly about, that we're a team. He calls it Team Tory. So sometimes when I need his help and I need his support, he will tell me this, he says, whatever it is, if it's your career, and you need me to be there for the kids, I will support you. And he does. So I'm here now, and he's with them setting up. I was actually doing 2 things, looking after the kids and also setting up the event for me. And there are times, because when he needs me to give in, I also support it. So I see this as a very give and take relationship, and it's really about functioning as a team. And I know it can be hard because sometimes there's a lot of communication involved. And I also know that sometimes certain husbands may or may not be so open to that discussion. But I've come to realize that if we talk about it and we say that we both try to make the family work, the family is like an office if you think about it.
Yeah.
And if one party drops the ball at any point in time, if or he's the CEO and I'm the, well, I like to say I'm the CEO, but anyway, whatever, CEO, okay. But if CEO says he can't be there, COO must take over. CEO cannot be there, CEO must take over. And then the minutes are just the kids, right, pretty much. So I always tell them the same thing. And it's actually come to a stage where it has to be able to function to a point whereby if one party cannot be involved, the other steps in and says, it's temporary. I don't see this as a sacrifice. I see this as part of keeping the things going. So we run it really like a team, like a sports team. We have your back, we always say that to each other. And I think when we have this very open communication, it made things a lot better. So sometimes I feel guilty because he helps out a lot, and he will then remind me, no, you've done things for me too. There have been times when I had to do this and you would step in. And I thought that was something very meaningful, and it's a very good discussion to have very early on in the years. So, I remember the first night we brought Clarissa back, I really didn't like Motherhood, like Joel. I didn't like her for the first 3 months, I'll be honest with you. They cry, they just keep crying. So I brought her back to Thomson Medical Center, and they said, you're returning her, and I said, can I return? Can I really do this? And I think that's important because then he told me, look, I know it's your journey and you're going to breastfeed and all that, but we're part of a team. And whatever you need, I'm going to help. And I thought, to me, that's when I realized, okay, I married the right man, right? But I also realized for a lot of friends, they tell me, my husband's not like that. And I said, I haven't brought this up. And they said, well, I don't want to. He doesn't know this. And I said, try until you talk about it as a team. When you say, I want you to do something, it becomes very, but when I say we're part of this whole thing, we're trying to make this work, we're trying to bring up a child, let's try to do this together. And I think it's a lot easier. At least that's my advice.
I think the wife is always the CEO. I think we need to recognize that. I mean, it's the same for me. For me, I'm talking from the perspective of having young kids. The first 3 years, the adjustment was huge. And everyone gets emotional, and I think that for the husband, I think you really need to recognize that the stress on the mom. My wife had 2 kids back to back. So,
and his wife, Declan was sharing with me that his wife went through a 156-hour labor.
Yeah.
How that's possible later, you can ask him.
6 days of labor.
Yeah.
We were there together as well. It was quite intense. But so you're tired, you're exhausted. So I think from the husband's perspective, right, you did a couple of things. One, be present, and give the mother the confidence, because it's first time, you're not sure, you're worried whether you can be the best mom that you can be, and honestly, the first 3 years, the baby wants food. The husband don't really that important. So you really need to look after your partner. But then when it really comes into parenthood, right, really have a very honest discussion. And like she mentioned, be very clear about the roles that each of you want to play. And it will evolve, and it can evolve. Nothing's right, nothing's wrong, but make that choice, and then you kind of re-evaluate along the journey. And there are times where you will lose yourself. And it happened to me when the second kid came. When the first kid came, we were over the moon. I think we were really prepared. It was so easy. We were like, it was, for me, I was already the kid, my wife was ready, we set up everything great, only the labor was a bit intense, but everything was cool. But then we thought, that, this is a breeze, we'll have the second one. So the moment she stopped breastfeeding, she was pregnant. And when the second one came, oh my god, it was just, I think we didn't sleep for a year. And there was 6 months where I thought I lost my wife. We just stopped talking because everyone was so exhausted. And I think suddenly I realized that actually as husband and wife, that both actually at the same time, when one or the other really goes too deep, you need to, like she mentioned, be honest and have a conversation and pull her back up. And then have the conversation. I couldn't even tell her about my day, and she couldn't tell me about it. And then we spoke with each other honestly one day and said, you know, we just felt that we lost, like I lost my best friend, and the same for her. And you mustn't forget that at the end of the day, right, it is a team, and you have to stay strong for each other. Because once you kind of lose yourself, it doesn't help. So have that conversation. Don't be afraid to bring it up at the right moment. No, when she's breastfeeding, like very stressed. Wait for the right moment. And it's important to agree beforehand to disagree. That makes sense. And to really have this kind of open conversations along the way. Because there will be moments you'll be stressed. There will be moments you kind of fall off. But that's fine. You pick each other up.
Can I just add a bit quickly? I totally agree what Akun said. For mothers, the priority is always the children. Okay, so I remember there was a point in time where I was just in there with the kids. Every day was a grind, and I was just probably looking really miserable and having this responsibility on my shoulders. And one night, on a weekday night, you know, the dinner was set by the helper. I was sitting down, and my husband came down and he says, "Okay, let's go out for dinner." I said, "No, today is a weekday night. The kids have to sleep by 7 o'clock. I have to sit here and have dinner with them, you know, and all that stuff." And he looked at me, "No." Then he said, "Kids, you guys settle yourself, finish your dinner. I want you all in bed by 7:30. Mommy and Daddy were going out." And I said, "No, I can't go out. No, you know." And he just took me out, and that was exactly what I needed. I just had to de-stress. I needed, you know, a day off and just stop thinking of the kids. So moms, we feel it's very hard for us to do that. But the dads can see it, and if you feel that your wife needs a break, you know, take her for a break.
And you kind of know when your wife is at the
It's like a monster. I can tell. You can tell.
But I had to do that to my wife as well. I'll be like, "Woman, enough. Stop." We're going on a 2-day trip, and I just dragged her out, and then she just after that. Because I think it's the maternal instinct. You can't help yourself. You just wanna do that. You say, "Oh my God, I'm not there for 2 days. I'm not good enough," and all that stuff.
First mother in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Starved to death.
So, Michelle, you know, I think, as we all know, it's not easy raising kids. And also at the same time, keeping our marriage going, right? And keeping our marriage alive. There's different parenting styles, chore divisions, financial burdens. Raising 6 kids and a strong marriage after how many years have you been married? 20 years. How do you do it?
Well, I don't know. I think it's really the grace of God, I guess. It's really, really not easy. I think first thing is to have realistic expectations. Like we talked about it, anything on Instagram and on magazines, you know, that is not something that you should aspire for. Real life, real marriage is really, really different. So it's being there for each other, whether you say it or not, recognizing the signs. For us, we had a lot of family support. My mom, my dad, his mom, his dad helped us. The whole village, the entire village, my sister-in-laws, the entire village, and to like we mentioned, to support, just, you know, come in as and when, as Shirley was mentioning, when someone is not up to doing it, he would just immediately step in. And for my husband, from day one, same thing, you know. Daddies, don't think that the mummies, you know what they're doing. When I came home from the hospital with the baby, you know, I was fine, right, breastfeeding and everything. But the first time I had to shower the baby, I freaked out. I was like, this is like a chicken. I don't even know how to hold this baby, right? And my husband stepped in because he raised a lot of puppies, you know. And you know, he stepped in. He took because his arm is huge, right? He took the baby and he was like a pro, you know. And so for the first whole confinement, he bathed the baby because I was thinking I'm gonna drown her. Like, you put the baby inside and the water is coming, you know. I couldn't do it, and he just took over and he did the diaper changes and he did practically everything except the breastfeeding. And he was very hands-on, and he would know, like, when they were growing up, he would take 5 of them swimming so that I could have my 2 hours of peace, you know, just to zen and you know, stabilize myself. So it's really give and take. And I think it's really thinking that there is no way out. I think for young couples, they always feel at the first sign of conflict, oh, my marriage is falling apart, oh, this is not for me. I hear that from a lot of people coming to me, what advice do you have? I think marriage is not for me. I think I want to raise the kid my way, my husband is cramping my style. all sorts of things. I mean, these are not real. I mean, everybody will go through stages. But I think topmost in your mind, you have to make this decision. You married this spouse and you will stick together through thick or thin. You would have all sorts of challenges over, I mean, it's been 20 years, but I can see the next 20 years is still going to be ups and downs. But if you decide that no matter what, I mean, besides, I don't know, like abusive relationships or something that you really should walk away with, but other than that, if you have a healthy relationship to begin with, you're going to be knocked on all sides from everything, from stresses, from financial worries, from parents, from in-laws, everything. But open communication and the commitment to stick together and to want to do best, because as you know, for the children, the best is a stable family. And if you can so long as you said that I've really tried everything I can to keep this marriage together, I've done my part, don't give up on it, then you have no regrets. Then at the first, not at the first sign of something trouble, you say forget it lah. Yeah.
Declan, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think what she said is spot on. Know who you marry, like 100%. So for me and my wife, we were very lucky to have worked on a few projects together before we got married. So she was very sure what I was completely crap at, and she just wouldn't for the life of her ask me to do any of that. So her expectations were very calibrated. I think she was the only one that could tolerate that. That's why I married her. And same, there were certain things about her where, oh my god, I just, like why would she do that? But there are certain things about her that she's so good at, and I just see that. Everything else is cool. It's what you get, right? For every strength, there's a weakness, and then if both parties you recognize that, and the tension will come when these clash, but you work through it. So you just don't focus on it, and you just try to back each other up when it happens. Because like you mentioned, life is not like Facebook. We all know that. And I think that has helped us so much over the years, especially during the starting 3 years of parenthood, where you're not sleeping and all that.
I must ask Michelle before I wrap up. Michelle, is it worth it? After everything that you've been through and are going through?
I would have to say yes. And I'm sure the four of them would agree with me. It's an experience that is just beyond anything you would ever imagine. You put everything together, the positives, the negatives. At the end of the day, you become, a person that you never thought you could become. And you realize that the love that you have to give is just so much. Even though I have 6 kids, and my kids always do this to me, Mom, who do you love most? That kind of thing. They try to trap you, right? And I keep telling them that, yeah, your love is just multiplied. And this whole experience of motherhood, I think it's something that I don't know how to describe it, but it's a journey. It's a journey that I would do it again, yeah, if I had to choose.
And let's go around the panel for one advice that you would give to new parents here today. One advice. What's one advice that you would give to new parents here today? Whether it's about personal relationships, self-care, self-love, or anything. Jill, you want to start?
So between me and my husband, we work together as well with at the great room. So we see each other along the way, and obviously there are conflicts at home or at work. And we always say marriage keeps us together until we fall in love again. So there are moments that you don't, but you remember. It's kind of like what you said. You decide, it's a decision, that there's no exit options, and you kind of ride through the bumps because it will be bumpy. So that's one. And I think pragmatically, it really takes a village to bring up your kids. So don't be afraid to ask for help, accept all help, involve everyone, your in-laws, your parents, everybody. But also know that, you know, if you accept help, it's not always your way. So for me, you know, my mom-in-law steps in all the time, my mother steps in all the time, and they would do things that I wouldn't do, but I encourage them. And kids are so clever. My kids do a stay over at my mom-in-law once a week and my mom's once a week. So that's good because for 2 nights in a week, me and my husband, we get to be kids. We get to do silly things, crazy things, go out, party, whatever, or sleep. But my kids, they are like 3 different children, 3 sets of children in 3 different households. I give you an example. So my mom is very typical Shanghainese tiger grandma, routine, eat well, you must nap every day. My mom-in-law, much more avant-garde and chill. And one day my mom-in-law said, "The kids nap? What do you mean they nap? They haven't napped for a whole year." They nap every single time at my mom's place the whole year. My mom-in-law has never had a nap, not once. And I thought they're like 50-50. I kind of thought like they're growing out of their nap. So in my household, they're 50-50. They're just 3 different kids. And in my mom's place, they sit at the table and eat. That's never happened in my mom-in-law's place. So they play you. They just know. They just know. But now I accept it. They understand who they are at different places, and I accept the help. I know that my kids will be, much more creative and little rascals, my mom-in-laws, and that's okay. I want them to spend as much time with their grandparents as possible.
My advice would be to be present as much as possible. You do a lot of things, fun things, not so fun things together, and then if you're present, you would enjoy the moment. If you enjoy the moment, then it becomes a journey that you're taking together. My advice also to the dads would be to not forget to keep wooing your wife. The day you stop wooing her, and then all of a sudden your relationship will start to tumble. So if you continue to woo your wife all the time and pretend that you're dating, it would help things. It would help her. It would make her feel alive, attractive, wanted, loved, and that makes her a better mom. Me and my ex-wife, we're not together, but we are doing a job of co-parenting, and this co-parenting journey, she's a great mom. She's a fantastic mother. She's trying her best, and she thinks I'm a great dad as well, and I'm trying my best. So we have a situation, but we're working around it, and we're giving Renee the best possible life that we can give her. We never fight in front of her. We try to impart the right values at all times individually with her. So guys, keep wooing your wife, and for everybody else, just be present and just really enjoy the small things, because the years are short. I don't want Renee to grow up so quickly, but she's growing up so fast. Now she's talking back. We're discussing things. She's asking why. No, really, Dad, why? Not just because because I asked you to. No, it doesn't work anymore. It becomes like why, and you see them develop. And when you see them develop, that's where the enjoyment really is. So be present. You can't be present all the time. Sometimes you're on your phone. The kid is doing something near you. You're just in proximity. But whenever you are present, be as present as you can. And then your journey will be fantastic.
My advice is to develop them in the values and their character, because when they turn into teenagers, the very difficult years, then is not the time to fix them. The time to really build them well is when they're little, as they are growing up. So as much as in Singapore, you get carried out, you get carried away with everything else, but the character and the values are very important. And there's something called rules and relationship. If you want them to follow your rules, especially as they move into the teenage years, you need to have a strong relationship with them from the time they're little, and a real relationship, not a tiger mom, you do this, I say this, but a real relationship with them. And that's how I'm very close, even all my girls and my teenagers, and they'll come to me with all their problems. and they are not afraid to tell me things that they will say that, oh, my friends don't dare tell their moms because their moms would scold them, and they do a lot of things behind their moms' backs. So if you want to keep your teenagers safe and always with a proper moral compass, have a very good relationship with them from the time they're little.
I guess my advice would be really embrace the fact that every journey is different for everyone. There's no right or wrong, and I think we beat ourselves up too much sometimes. But the key thing is you have to be conscious when you make that choice. Do you want to spend half a day every day with your children when they are growing up from 1 to 10? If you have to, something has to give, right? If you want your career, something has to give the kid. There's no right or wrong. So you must choose the parenting experience that you want, and you have to make that choice together with your partner, and it has to be consistent. If not, you won't enjoy the journey. And as you are going through the journey, I think really enjoy it. As tiring as it is, it will be something you look back on and just be so grateful for. And I think my kids are very young, right? But I think we give them less credit than they deserve. They really pick up on things. Even at like 2 years old, they know how to play the parents, the grandparents, and so you really need to watch how you act because they remember. Like my son remembered something somewhere I brought him to when he was 2, and he was like, Papa, you brought me here. At that time he couldn't even speak properly, and then it hit me. I was like, oh my god, okay, I shouldn't start to say certain things or do certain things in front of him, and yeah, so parenthood's a 24/7 thing. But just embrace that because it makes you a better person.
I think for me, the advice I would say more for the mothers perhaps, don't lose yourself in parenting. I find that a lot of times, a lot of parenting, probably even with us, we make it sound like it envelopes you. From my experience, when you lose sight of who you are in the parenting journey, you're very angry, and it comes out. So I give an example. I've had a lot of moms come to us at Moms at What and say, I quit my job for my child because it's PSLE year, so he better do well. And to me, I say, is it his dream to do well, or is it yours? And once you lose sight of who you are, and you've decided, for example, that in order to be a good mom, I want to do all these things, then sometimes, whether consciously or not, you end up having a child live your dream. Remember I said at the beginning, I said legacy? The legacy to a certain extent. This person still has their own dreams, their own lives. So I say this a lot of times, if you choose to make a career decision that makes you very happy, so for example, you choose to be a full-time working mom instead of giving up time, there will be the stay-at-home moms, I know, that will come and tell you that's the wrong thing, you're a bad mom. Don't care, okay? Similarly, if you choose to be a stay-at-home mom, there'll be the working moms who tell you, you're not a good mom. Don't care, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, you make the choice that you're happy with, and there will be some things that you have to give up in exchange. For those who step out entirely, I say this, there's a time when you can come back in again. There always will be, okay? The problem with parenting sometimes is you think this is the horrible stages, the terrible twos are so horrible, they will end. It will start with terrible trees, but that's not a different thing, okay? But my point is, don't lose yourself, because a lot of women that I meet, they end up being so caught up in what everything else wants them to be. They forget how it is to be happy. And on the surface, they're very happy. On Instagram, they're very happy. But deep down, there's a lot of anger, and it always comes back out on the kids in some way, or on the spouse too sometimes. So please bear that in mind, because at the end of the day, all of us in this room, I think, especially for the women, what is definition to parenthood to you and what is happiness to you is very different. So find that first before you decide what kind of a mother you want to be. That makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any question from the floor? I think we have time for one question. Is there anyone? If not, I'll ask from Pigeonhole. There's this question that asks, how do you cope as a working mom and taking care of your baby when you return from work, especially when there is no stay-in helper?
I think, so you're returning to full-time work, I'm guessing, right? So if you full-time work, most likely you put the child in childcare or infant care. And infant care is this bad thing, you pick them up late, you gotta pay $5 per, I can't remember, right? Okay, anyway, back to this. I think bear this in mind. The panel has said it again and again. The whole balance system, when we say we want it all, what we're trying to do is we want everything to be at full level. The child will, at different stage, need more time and effort from you. And your career potentially would have to go down a little bit. So you don't travel as much, you don't get promoted that year. A lot of women get very upset about that. But I also ask them, again back to what Java said early on, which ball do you want to drop? If at that point in time, the ball you don't want to drop is the child, then be prepared that maybe the career bit has to come down a bit. So this whole recalibration is very important. And then some of you may say, but my work does not allow for it. Your work does. It's because you're not asking for it, or you're not thinking a little bit outside of the box. Maybe you have to go to a different job. Maybe you have to do a part-time work for now, and you may not get promoted. It will come a time where you can go and pursue those again. There will be a time, which I'm very sure Michelle will show you, the kids don't want you, whether you like it or not. The timing is not. They don't need you there so much anymore. That's where you move back up again. So there's certain things that we'll have to keep adjusting. So as a full-time mom, this is the first thing that you make. That decision, once you've made, you'll find that certain doors will open up for you. So for example, whether it's flexible arrangement, whether it's part-time work, whether it's running your own business, these options start to present themselves when you start to think of your career as not being so fixated on this one, this path, if that makes sense. Then the home front, obviously, they said the village already. I didn't have, my mom was very, very sick when my first one was born. I didn't have a nanny or anything. So I stopped working and I said, how am I going to do this, right? So I started my own business, and so my baby was next to me when I started up the first few years. But this was a conscious choice again, and I said one day I can do back what I want to do as they grow. So again, the whole mix and match, and really balancing in that sense, because we always think balance is tilt. There's actually more like graphs, the bar graphs, and you keep moving accordingly.